All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Cybertron Scout Class Hardtop. Yeah, this has been a figure that had been on my list for a while as one that I was kind of vaguely interested in picking up, but wasn't, making any real effort to do so. And then when Earthspark came out and he was kind of like a big featured character in the first episode against all odds, I went and tracked him down because it made me want him a lot more. And yeah, no, he's a pretty good figure, all things considered. I love the color scheme of this figure with the sort of like dark green and then the purple and then the lighter sort of like seafoam color. It's very, very wacky. It definitely fits right in with some of the 1988 crew like Spinister or something or one of those guys. I think that's 1988, maybe 1989. I can't remember. But anyway, it kind of vibes with some later G1 color schemes, so I appreciate that. But yeah, he comes with this weapon here, which is obviously his Cyber Planet Key weapon. Now, the original figure would have come with an Earth Cyber Planet Key. I didn't get that with this guy with the eBay listing, but here is just a Velocitron one. So what happens here is you just plug it in the back here, and then it's getting stuck. Just push it in and it flips out this gun here. So it has the short gun like this, and then it flips out for a longer gun. Okay, it's fine. It's not that exciting. In terms of storage in this mode, it just plugs on the back here. And, usually I'm not a huge fan of just like plugging weapons onto cars, but since he is kind of like a little, like military buggy or something, I think it works really well with him. And in fact, I actually prefer the look with the gun as opposed to without it. So, with the gun flipped out or like the longer gun or the shorter gun, I think either looks good just plugged on the back here and kind of completes the look. And I definitely want to keep his weapon with him anyway, because one of the other references they made to this guy in Earthspark was he actually had a weapon that had this piece sticking out the side. It was smaller, but it was still felt like a reference to this toy. But yeah, no, he's a pretty nice little vehicle mode. I guess the one thing that's a little bit awkward about him is just because of the way he unfolds through transformation. He has this roll cage here that kind of doesn't have like a connective bit in between, which I think looks a little bit strange, but whatever. But I like that he's got the little floodlights up there that actually end up being his toes in robot mode, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, in terms of comparisons, for the standard one, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe, so you can see what he looks like with an average size deluxe. Scout classes are not, our size class below deluxe. They're a little bit more equivalent to our core classes of the day, but still that's what they look like together. Here he is with the Speedia 500 Velocitron Override figure, just so you can see what he looks like with a recent rendition of another Cybertron character. And then last but not least, here he is with Combiner Wars Swindle, since in Earthspark, Swindle and Hardtop were like brothers. So kind of neat to see the two of them together, even though they don't really, look so much like their characters from the show. Well, he kind of does, but him not so much. But yeah, to get onto transformation, first thing you want to do is just take off the weapon here. You want to take this whole back section and it will unfold at basically will be the knees here. And then you can untab the legs and then take these wheels, and they kind of just hinge down a little bit just so they sit a little bit further down on the leg. I guess you could... Well, no, I was going to say you could bring them up, but they kind of run into this little piece of sculpting here. And then you want to take this whole section and kind of bring it down just like that. Take the bits with the roll cage here and just fold it out to the side. Take the front wheels and fold them onto the hood of the vehicle just like that. And then this whole thing will kind of hinge around just like this and then click into the waist like that. And then you can rotate him around at the waist, flip up what was the seat for vehicle mode, which is going to be his chest piece, and then bring his arms down the rest of the way and then unfold them at the elbows. And there you have Hardtop in his robot mode. And yeah, I really like him. He actually looks fairly similar to the design from Earthspark, or I should say the Earthspark design looks fairly similar to him. The shape of the head is a little bit different. Like he's kind of got like just like a normal round head here, whereas in Earthspark he had like kind of more horns. But otherwise, a lot of the cues are still there, and definitely the color scheme is pretty similar. We get a bit more of that gold that shows up in this mode, which is nice. And yeah, I still really like his color scheme. Now, in terms of articulation, the head is just on a swivel, so no ball joint, but it can swivel back and forth. The shoulders are on ball joints, although they're pretty limited, and they kind of run into a lot of things because it's a pretty tight connection to the purple piece, the armature piece for transformation here. So you can bring his arm out to the side only about that much with the ball joint, and then for that, using that transformation joint, you can bring it up a little bit more, or, you know, a lot more. But you know, the shoulders are a little bit limited because they just kind of run into things with all the stuff on the shoulders, but yeah, you know, gets a good amount. He doesn't have any bicep swivel, unfortunately. He's got a very deep elbow bend just for how it folds up for transformation. He's got a waist swivel. He's got ball joints at the hips that can go forward and back and out to the side. No thigh swivel proper. He does have a ball joint at the knee, and usually that would give him a thigh swivel, but because of the way that the leg kind of folds up into this piece, there's really no real swivel. The only bit of swivel is just the ball joint that the hip is on, which is, I think enough to keep it kind of dynamic. But yeah, a pretty deep knee bend again for transformation, and nothing at the toes. They're just static pieces there. This is really before they started, like systematically putting ankle tilts on things. But yeah, pretty decent. A few missing things. I think that like the shoulders and like not having any sort of bicep swivel is a little bit limiting, but otherwise I think he's fairly decent. Now he can hold his weapon here, obviously, with or without the Cyber Planet key thing going on. Although if he's holding it with the Cyber Planet key, he kind of can't like bend his elbow, but it's a little bit unwieldy for him because it is kind of large, but still looks fairly good, I think. Now, unfortunately, there is no way to really store it on him because the way that it attached in vehicle mode was on this port on his knee. So I mean, you could do that, but it doesn't really look good, which is kind of my least favorite thing about the figure. I did end up coming up with a workaround for this. I actually 3D printed this little black piece in here, this little weird sort of curvy black piece, and glued it into the gun, just shallow enough that it didn't mess with the like mechanism. And what that piece is meant to fit into is one of the little sockets in his wheel. So you can just plug it in like that, and then fold it back up onto his back. And it's a little bit floppy on there, but at least he, can carry it on his back. And that works for me, but, it took a bit of doing. That wasn't like an easy thing to come up with. So, it's still, for the figure in and of itself, I don't like that he doesn't have any weapon storage. Like, they could have at least put like a port on his arm or something so you could have it as like an arm cannon instead of having to always hold it. But, that was not unheard of with figures in the Unicron trilogy. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is again with Sideswipe and with Override, who does not fit on camera, right? Oh my gosh, words. Does not quit. Oh my gosh, words. Who does not quite fit on camera. There we go. And for an average core class size comparison, here he is with Kingdom Soundwave there. So you can see a bit taller. Scout classes were a little bit bigger than core class figures. And then last but not least, here he is with Combiner Wars Swindle again. Obviously, in the show in Earthspark, they were pretty much the same height. So, it's a bit different, but I think they still look kind of cool together. Now it's just instead of, two brothers, it's more big brother and little brother, I guess. But still kind of cool to see the two of them. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to him. He's a pretty simple figure. He's just, not much to him, but he's adequate. He's got a fun transformation. Really, my only lasting complaint about him is just the fact that his weapon doesn't store. And I know that A, that doesn't even bother that many people. And B, I was able to kind of come up with a workaround for it. So it works well for me. And then, there's some spots in the articulation that are a little bit limited, but I think he has all of the sort of like basic necessary joints, just a few that he could use a little bit more of. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to him. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Cybertron Scout Class Hardtop.